Welcome back to the Daily Lift. I am so excited about this first Peter study that we are doing right now. And Peter has so much insight and so much practical advice for the Christian. And starting in verse 1 of chapter 2, we see Peter beginning a section on growth in the Lord. And he begins by saying, "Therefore, laying aside all malice, all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and all evil speaking, as newborn babes, desire the pure milk of the word, that you may grow thereby, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is gracious." Now, there's a lot to unpack here, so let's break it down. And so Peter's saying, lay aside all these things. He's saying, take it off like dirty clothes. We see a lot of allusions and a lot of illustrations about putting on Christ and taking off the old man of sin. And so here he's saying, take off these things, put it away, separate yourselves from these things once and for all. And these 5 things that he says here, they all have one thing in common. They are relationship destroying conducts of sin. And so remember what he just said earlier in verse 22 of chapter 1. He says, since you have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit, in sincere love of the brethren, love one another fervently with a pure heart. And so he's telling us to put on brotherly love, level up that brotherly love with the highest form of love, that agape love. And he says that we need to be working toward building those relationships, not going about destroying them. And so the first part about growth is the things that we should avoid. And so he's telling us, put aside all these things. And so each one of these things are closely related and develop from each other. And malice leads to deception, deceit leads to envy and evil speaking. And when we try to hide our motives, here comes hypocrisy. And so these attitudes are completely against the Spirit of Christ, and they should be put away. And so now we have the milk of the word. Desire the pure milk of the word. And this stands for the first principles of the word. Those basic things, they're often referred to as milk, just as infants are desiring the milk of their mother. And so Christians here are often referred to as children. Children are teachable, they're innocent, and they're wholly dependent on the care from their parents. And so when we start out, we're infants, and infants don't need to be constantly urged and admonished to seek out that nourishing source of life. And they're desiring it, they long for it. And we also need to have an eagerness and a recurring desire for the Word of God. Just like those newborn babies, they're constantly going back to their mother's milk, that we may grow thereby. So the result of this nourishing milk, this nourishing pure word of God, is growth. Isn't that a wonderful thing, that if we drink deeply the word of God, that we will grow because of it? And so we taste that the Lord is gracious. Just like those infants, they taste that mother's milk and they want to go back for more and more. And so we need to make sure that we are returning to the word of God, putting aside all these other things, and that we are understanding that to turn again and again to that word and stay away from these things that will destroy our relationships. And as always, go lift somebody up.